Welcome to our podcast, Inspiring Living, with me, Mark Candelaria. I am an architect, blogger, traveler, chef, father, and husband. I am the founder and now a partner of a fabulous 25-person architecture firm specializing in high-end residential architecture. I have been designing amazing homes across the country for nearly 40 years. I am the founding partner of Candelaria Design and have hosted tours to Italy, Spain, and now Napa over the last 20 years. And in the course of all this, I have met a lot of interesting people who truly inspire me. Our podcast is about all the opportunities that are right there in front of us to inspire living. Yes, I will talk about architecture and design, but every week we will venture into all sorts of topics that will inspire you, teach you, and motivate you to inspire living every day. My guests will include a wide gamut of amazing people, from those in the design industry to clients to real estate professionals, chefs, artists, sports figures, and philanthropists, and people who just flat out get it. Sit back and enjoy, and let's have some fun exploring all of the opportunities that are there just waiting for us. Please subscribe and get ready to be inspired every week. Okay, as my dad says, here we go. Okay, we are back in Phoenix, Arizona. We had a great trip to Italy. I hope you enjoyed our podcast from the farmhouses. We sure had fun making that podcast. And we were going to have Walter Spitz on this week, but we moved him a little bit forward. And I've got a great surprise guest for you today, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, give us a subscribe. Also, give us a rating and review on iTunes if you can. Screenshot it, send it to us, and we're going to give you a chance to win a trip and a spot on our Candelaria Design Tour Spain 2020. So you definitely want to do it. Give us the subscribe, give us a review, and you may be going to Spain with us next year. Okay, welcome to my podcast today. I've got a good friend here who I've known for a long, long time, but what I keep finding out in these podcasts is how little I do know of people until I kind of start prodding into their past a little bit. But I've got a great one here. It's Frank Aazami from Russ Lyons, Sotheby's International Realty Private Client Group. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're awesome.
On your show.
This guy shows up. He brings my wife flowers, me a bottle of wine. I told him I'm going to have you as a guest every week.
Okay, let's do it. I think your audience is going to have a hard time, having me on all the time.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. So the first thing he tells me when I hook him up with the microphone and the headphones is, oh, I used to be in radio. So
right.
Tell me about that real quick.
But, I wasn't speaking on radio. I was playing the music on the radio.
Oh, okay.
That's so much easier.
Top 40.
Top 40 radio in Philadelphia, New York.
Philadelphia. Wow.
Yeah, all over East Coast. So, I loved music and couldn't play an instrument. So this was closest to it and, got a lot of joy out of it. I worked actually in marketing end of it as well during the day.
Yep.
And it was just bringing audience to a frequency and keeping them engaged.
So
and
you learned some of those techniques that you now employ in real estate, I see.
It's the same philosophy, exactly. And I owned restaurants, so it was the same concept over there. How do you bring people in and keep them engaged and have them come back for a second or third round and maybe almost every day.
Interesting. So where were you born? Where did you grow up?
So I'm Persian, and I left the country when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And we, on the way to the U.S., we stopped in Europe, in Germany, and my father bought a multi-complex there, and my aunt was living, she was married to a German citizen, so she was, nearby it and later moved into it and managed it. And years later, 4 or 5 years later, we went back to Germany and lived 3 years.
We're in Germany, by the way.
Just outside of Stuttgart.
Okay. My mother lived in Mannheim.
No kidding.
Yeah, my mom was born in East Prussia, Germany.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been there, and I know right where you're talking. I've been to Stuttgart.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
I love Germany. I love Europe.
Yeah.
And we just came from a trip from London, and I know you travel everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about all your travels.
Yep.
So one of these days I have to join you.
Oh, that would be fun. So you're in Germany. How old were you at this time?
So I was still in middle school.
Right.
And after 3 years of being there, I told my father, I said, I think we need to go back because, German was my second language. And, to be able to go to college and, achieve better positions in life. I thought America was a place to be. And my dad said, okay, if that's what you want, we'll do it. So I promised myself that when I come back to the U.S., I would kiss the ground.
Huh.
And I did.
Interesting.
And I still do it. Every time I leave and come back, it's
true,
the best
isn't it?
country in the world.
It's
Absolutely.
very true. Very true. So then you came back to America.
Yes.
And where was this at?
So this is all in the East Coast.
Okay.
So from Virginia to Maryland to Delaware, I went to school a few years in Delaware, University of Delaware. Then and ended up in Philadelphia, working in Top 40 radio there.
Huh.
And our sister station was in New York. So I worked in New York for a little while as well.
Yep.
And realized that, I need to be bringing all this attention and audience to something that I own. So I started a franchise of restaurants, owned about 10,
wow.
And franchised 30.
How old were you at this time?
Now going fast forward, just in my early 20s.
Okay, so you're still young.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I didn't have all the money to open up my first restaurant. And I thought through marketing and good service and being engaged with the clients, that will build a business, and it sure did. My own restaurants were competing as the top in the 50 out of 50 or 50-some number of franchisees. I had the top in the franchise, and I was competing with myself.
That's awesome.
Between the stores.
So how long did that take to happen? I mean, from the time you started to the point where you just mentioned, I mean, was it a year? Was that?
Yeah. So so I wanted to go into a business. I wanted to own my own real business, and short in cash. My father said, you're just a player. You're not serious. I'm not going to give you a penny. So my roommate, who was from Australia, was going to bring in half the cash to improve the lease and put the equipment in there and get the business running. And so
if I can ask you, how much was that roughly? I mean, how much cash?
At the time, we're going in the 80s, mid 80s. It was about $100,000, a little over $100,000. Yeah, it was a little over $100,000, $120,000.
Yeah.
And so my father said, no way. My roommate said, okay, go sign a lease. I'm in. Then last minute, he doesn't show up with the cash.
Oh, my gosh.
So his cash never arrives. And so I had to go back to people I knew. Luckily enough, my father said, okay, I'm going to give it to you. You have 1 year to pay me back. I paid him back in less than 6 months. He says, take the money, go open up a couple more.
Interesting.
And one more, and one turned into many other mores.
Wow.
And
what kind of restaurant?
It was fast food. It was just, finger food.
Yeah.
But it was so unique and different that I had people come in repeatedly.
Right.
Because of the quality and consistency and just
it's amazing how those things work, isn't it? In
yes,
any business.
And relationship. I knew everybody by name.
Yeah.
And so we just had a following.
Yeah.
Now, my biggest challenge was to step back and have my staff service these people that know my face, me, as the person that served them or serviced the business. So we gradually did that, and I had to assure them that when they came in, they were going to get the same service, same quality, same everything. So it was a nice transition for me to be able to develop.
So to do that, though, you had to really train people, not on how to make French fries but how to relate to people.
Exactly.
And so that takes time.
So we had a thing saying, like, you could be so upset of something that just went wrong, but as soon as you turn around and look at someone on the other side of the counter,
right, and put yourself in their shoes.
You just have to just forget everything and say, how are you?
Right.
How can I help you?
What can I do to make things perfect for you?
Exactly. It's all about them. It's never about us.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah.
So you were in this fast food restaurant business in Philadelphia?
In Philadelphia,
okay.
Yes.
And you're in your early 20s.
Early 20s. And so I took my first real vacation after like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, any business is hard work, right?
I was there every day,
Yeah.
all day.
All of it.
I would wear different hats all different times.
Right.
and
Whatever the
change
job,
clothes.
whatever
Right.
needed to be done at that point, that's you.
That was us, right?
Yeah.
Just like any business, your business, I'm sure.
I totally
you
get
know,
it. And I've worked in the restaurant business. That's where I kind of started too.
Sure.
I've always wanted to own a restaurant. You know, I
Yeah.
love to cook.
Yeah.
Yes. But I know how hard the restaurant business is.
It's
And
very hard.
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
There's a lot of waste. There's a lot of pilferage. It's tough.
Yes, you have many ingredients to make one thing, and you better do it right.
Right.
And next time, it's got to taste the same, feel the same.
Right. So the first time you're on the field, you're hitting home runs and making touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. And because it was my first run, I couldn't lease a place that was right on the foot traffic.
Right.
I had to bring the traffic. And not only you had to brand yourself, it's a name that nobody knew.
Right.
So it's not like they're going to look it up or search it and find it. Back then, there was no internet, really.
Right.
So you just have to bring people in, do sampling and outreach.
Right.
Kind of everything you do.
Yeah.
You go out and
Get out there.
talk to people and, do your speeches.
I tell people nothing happens when you sit at home.
Nothing happens.
You have to get out there and meet people. And when you're out there and in the environment, you're around things that are happening, and all of a sudden something happens. Not always what you expect, but opportunity is outside. It's not sitting there waiting to fall in your lap.
Absolutely. I mean, even today, you have your day planner for today or tomorrow or next week. That day may not go exactly the way you plan, right?
Right.
Because you just have to
99% of the time.
Exactly. You just go wherever it's needed.
Yeah.
Priorities, right?
Yeah.
You service the priorities.
Exactly.
And so...
Okay, so you're back there in Philly in the 80s. You're cranking out, 10 restaurants or more?
About just under 10.
Okay, just under
Yeah.
10. So then, from restaurants to real estate. They both start with R. I get
Right.
that, Frank.
Yeah.
How do you
I
get
never
from
thought
Philly-
about it that way.
How do you get from Philly to Arizona?
So after the 6 or 7 years, and I loved children. I wanted to be a dad since I was 15, 16 years old. And I'm like, I'm going to be a dad soon. So now I'm in my 20s and, dating, and everybody's like, you're married to your business, you're not even paying attention. And so what do? You got to let go of something to gain something else back, right? Gain something into your life. So I took my first vacation with my printer, and his name was Frank as well.
Huh.
And we're sitting in Hawaii on a beach, and he says, "What are you thinking?" I said, "You really want to know?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I said, "I want to go back, sell everything, get married, and want to have a child.
Yeah.
I want to have
A family.
A family." So he says, "Oh my God, you're
crazy.
You're crazy. It's just never
You got
mind.
everything. What are you
never
thinking
mind.
about?
Okay, I thought you were going to say, let's go and have a
Open
margarita.
restaurant. Let's open a restaurant here in Hawaii.
Exactly. Let's go party." So anyway, and that's exactly what I did. I came back. I offered it to my staff, whoever I knew. I said, I'm gonna get out of this business.
Yep.
At the time, I have not found a female
Right.
girlfriend.
Yep.
I was dating, but no one was serious. So I came back, and I had, I think, 2 or 3 restaurants left, and got married. And
So how did you meet this woman?
This woman? Well, a friend of mine who was going to to medical school. He was throwing a little, like a 4th of July party, and he said, "Hey, listen, why don't you come over to our gathering, to our barbecue?" So I said, "What do you have? Who's coming?" He says, "Well, my wife's sister from London, who just finished law school." And would you believe it? I met Maria, and we chatted, and I asked her if I could show her the city. And next thing you know, I proposed. Within like a few weeks of knowing one another, I was just
Well, you had your roadmap set. You knew where you wanted to go.
I wanted to get married, but I never dated anyone that was, 2 or 3 years younger than me.
Right.
She was like 10 years younger than me. I'm like, this isn't going to work. But we get along so well. Before I say anything, she knows what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So So fast forward 20 years later, we're still married. We have one daughter. She's a figure skater.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's high school, last year high school at Notre Dame, and
Nice.
so life
Amazing.
is good.
Yeah.
How do we end up being in real estate? So when I sold the restaurants. Part of the restaurant business was negotiating a lease or buying
Sure.
the ground underneath
Yep.
it or the building behind it. So I was I knew enough
Right.
to get by, and I used to just refer business to friends that I knew that were in the real estate business. I always thought, oh, it's such an easy job. So when I sold the restaurants, I decided I'm going to flip. I mean, market was so good, and I'm like, I'm a genius. Everything I touch, I make money.
Yeah, you met this girl, and 3 weeks later, you're getting engaged, and
Right,
look
everything
at
was
this,
going
man.
the right way. So we, this was before the down market, so I was flipping homes.
This is
and
before '87, I'm guessing, or
this is now going into 90s.
oh, in the '90s. Okay,
Yeah, now we're
gotcha.
going into 90s.
Yep.
Because this is fast forward,
Yep.
7 years of owning,
Right.
and then so I start flipping homes, and that was so easy. And meanwhile, I would send my parents to different destinations.
Yep.
One of them caught my eye online, and I said, "Wow, look at this! Look at the pictures here. Paradise Valley, Arizona. Dry weather. Let me send them over there." This was like middle of a summer,
Huh.
like it was June or July.
A perfect place to send them in June. And July.
I didn't know. So
Pictures look cool.
the pictures look great. Golf course, everything was picture perfect.
Yep.
So I mean, thanks to you guys, building them,
Yep.
designing them. So it may have been a Candelaria design. So I sent them over here. Within 24 hours, they called and they said, we don't want to come back. We want to stay here.
They loved
As
it.
a matter of fact, you should come down and take a look and see the growth here and see what's going on in this town.
That's so clean. Everything's new.
Oh,
You
yes. Organized and
Yeah.
buffered, and we can go on and on.
Yeah.
No potholes when you're driving on streets everywhere. So I came down and I had a 1031 exchange. So within like 2 or 3 days of just landing here,
Yep.
I bought a place and I said, "Mom and Dad, you don't have to go back for the winters. You can just stay here."
I love the way you do not waste time.
No, sir.
Yeah.
No, very focused, right?
Yeah, very
you don't
focused.
either.
Oh, I
I
love
know
it.
you.
I
I know
love
you
it.
too long. So, Mark, we bought a place for them
Yep.
on a golf course and all those things, and we said, "Okay, well, it's time for us to go back," and we would come here like every 2, 3, 4 weeks to visit them.
Yeah.
And the market was hot. 2004, 5.
Yep.
Six,
Amazing hot.
Amazing hot. And
Yep.
lottery tickets to be able to even
Oh, God, yeah.
put a bid on a property. So we said, okay, let's buy a place for us. We bought a place, and we'll move in it in 2 to 3 years. It took 2 or 3 months. It became our primary resident. Along the way, I met a lot of people in the industry, and the market started to tank. And I said to myself, who's going to help these people? Someone who understands dollars and cents and understands real estate and can be comfortable asking questions and helping people, genuinely helping them so they don't have a financial crisis. I can do that job rather than taking a short sale. So I took the license, and my commitment was to help people. And agents then start using me and referring me. So my business growth was through agents in the business that gave me opportunity to service their clientele. And then next thing you know, I had so much business, I started bringing people on board to help me. And that's where we are now.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Well, what struck me when I first met you is just how friendly you are. And, when you tell me the story now at the restaurant thing, I get it. And it totally makes sense. I mean, I would go to your restaurant. I don't even know what you're making. So,
Hot wings.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I want to be around this guy. First of all, he makes things happen. That's for darn sure.
Well, you do too.
So when I first met you, I was like, wow, this guy is really dynamic, really interesting. And Yeah, I was just really taken
Well,
to you. And what I find I know a lot of realtors, obviously, because of the business I'm in. But what struck me about you, and you're confirming it with the conversation here, is just how hard you work.
thank you.
And that's one thing I don't see necessarily in a lot of realtors.
That's in my DNA, though. I mean, can I tell you that I just can't sleep more than 4 or 5 hours. You know, I'm going. It's just, you know.
Yep.
So it's not because I want to do it, because I have to do it.
Right.
It's just me.
Right.
And, you know.
It's not a task or a toil. It's something you love.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So, you know, it's a funny story because I knew so much about you before I even met you, because I'm going around driving everywhere, looking at lots, looking at, you know, properties and Candelaria design. I'm like, this guy is genius. This guy is like, has engraved, like, you know, that I kind of then knew what your style was, what your expertise was, and I couldn't wait to meet you. And I said, this guy's never going to have time for me. And same thing about certain other agents in this town that happen to be some of my best friends. These are the people that actually fed me business,
Right.
you know, including, you know, Walt Danley and Robert Jaffe and Ellie Shapiro and all these good agents in town that kept me in business. And, you know, they didn't have to do anything because they were already successful.
Yeah, but they knew you worked.
But I knocked on the door.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know who these people are. I wanted to know who were the top interior designers.
Yeah.
Who actually gave the direction to the builders to build something unique.
Right.
And that was more important. So when I got licensed and I saw, the builder's name is on the sheet, but the architect's name, who was even more important, who designed it, was not.
Was not,
It's
yeah.
like, okay, let me go. If no one has spoken to MLS, then
Right.
let's start this dialogue and let's show them. We have to demonstrate how important that is.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that, because I noticed that you always do that, and it has definitely changed in the last, I'd say, 15 to 20 years. Because I remember 20 years ago, you'd never see the architect's name.
No, because they search for you. They like
Right.
your style. I mean, I just met somebody last week who is, you know, your biggest fan, built multiple homes with you, through you, and I can see it. I can see why.
Yeah.
They're so engaged. I don't think they ever go anywhere else because you treated them well, you listened to them, and you'll probably have an idea where they want to be in their next chapter in life.
Yep.
And you know exactly what they need.
No, and that's been one of the fun things
Yeah.
now that I've been doing this for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
It's been interesting to watch people's life progress and their needs for a house change.
Right.
You know, from when they're having kids to when their kids are teenagers, then all of a sudden being empty nesters. And you see it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And I never forget when we brought people into your office and you had these little cubicles and all these little things. And back then, I guess we weren't as tech savvy. And you just played around. Okay, how do we get you through? You still do it that way.
We still do it that way.
Brilliant.
What I like about that process is it's literally hands-on.
Yeah.
And so my client can actually touch the pieces and touch the rooms and move them around. And it's engaging, yeah. And I just learned by watching them what they're kind of thinking.
Right.
Whereas if it was just sending them plans back and forth, you don't get that interaction.
No, because you get so much other information out of it.
Right.
How much
Body
height?
language.
Yes. How much light do they like? How
Right.
much light? How much height do they like?
Yep.
Flooring, doors, no doors, windows, where windows,
Yeah.
high,
And
low.
it's movable and flexible. And
Absolutely.
It doesn't, what I like, it doesn't pit us against our client. Everyone's equal and we're all moving these pieces together.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So let me ask you this real quick. One thing that I've noticed about you, and you kind of alluded to it a minute ago, is building your brand. And I think you've done a great job of building the Frank Aazami name in town. I mean, you moved here when, and you said?
I arrived here close to 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15
Yeah.
years. That's not that long.
No.
To build
Yeah.
what you've built.
Thank you.
And so tell me a little bit about that. Tell about the Frank Aazami brand.
It was never about Frank. If you notice, I never use Frank Aazami's group. It's the private client group because it's all about that private client. It's all about the client. It's all about
that's cool.
their need and forget about, I'm not here to take a listing and promote me through it.
Right.
I'm here to take the listing to show the benefits of ownership, the use, it's value.
Right.
Sometimes it's value for some people. So it's, and if you do everything right, it all comes together.
Yeah, I always tell people, just plant a lot of good seeds all over the place.
Yes.
And you'll be amazed when you turn around how many beautiful plants you have in your garden.
Exactly.
And people forget that. It's just like, where's my garden? Where's my garden? Well, you didn't plant any seeds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And building a nice property, or a high rise.
Right.
If you don't have a good foundation,
Same thing.
This property is not going to, it's going
Right.
to shift.
Right.
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 And who wants that? Or it's going to settle in a different way. I'm sure you think about
exactly.
all of those things.
Oh, yeah. So in terms of how the market has changed in getting your name out and building your brand, I know you do a lot with social media also.
We do.
And so tell me a little bit about that, because I have a lot of people interested in how that all works for every business.
So I'm at a point where I post things, but then I ask like my assistant to post a few things, and let's not brag about ourselves. Let's tell people
what we're doing, what's out there,
who we're meeting,
right.
what's nice, what's not,
right.
What's funny, what's not,
right.
And so social media is great, but you have to turn it into an engaging dialogue. Yeah.
So just like the restaurant business.
Just like the restaurant, any business,
Exactly.
Your business.
Yeah.
I don't think there is another architect in town that has as many signs as you do.
Well, it's funny. Our sign, I always tell my staff that, and they're like, oh, he wants a sign on $300 for a sign.
Yes.
We'll get more business from that $300 sign than any ad you put in any magazine.
Absolutely. And people can relate, and they can say, okay, I know what's coming in here.
Right. They get excited, hopefully.
Yes.
So what are some of the hot trends you're seeing in real estate right now? And where's the market coming from? On the drive over here to meet you, I would say 2/3 of the cars I saw had California license plates.
Isn't that something?
Are you seeing that?
Oh, absolutely. Quality of life, taxes. I guess they have to give up the weather, but we have good weather.
We have
after this summer's gone.
Today's I always tell people, September's the hardest month here.
Right.
Because everywhere else it's getting cool, and you still got 100 degrees.
We're now in November, and look how beautiful it is.
Yeah, then it's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah.
So you're seeing a lot of Californians.
We see it. We have been seeing a lot of Californians because their money buys a lot more.
Right.
They're not in traffic. There's no pollution.
So my question is, who's buying the properties in California?
That's a good question, and I believe they're kind of. I have a lot of colleagues, obviously through Sotheby's. There are agents everywhere,
Right.
24,000 agents around the globe. So I have my favorites because I've been going to the global networking event for the last 10 plus years, and have a lot of friends everywhere. So we talk on a regular basis, and that was my question. And it looks like Asian.
That's going to be my guess.
Yeah, that's who's going there.
Huh.
They get Europeans more than we do, but when the Europeans arrive here, they'll ask questions and see where the locals are going.
Right.
If you see what door they're breaking in to come in, and Maricopa County or Scottsdale, Paradise Valley is one of them. Guess what? They're coming too.
Right.
And that's why we're seeing, a lot more of these restaurants and services.
Nice restaurants.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've been noticing. I've noticed a change just in the last 5 years with Phoenix starting to seem a little bit more international with the nicer, more national restaurants coming here on the high end.
Absolutely.
So
and the decor.
People follow the food. They follow the restaurants.
Right. Absolutely. Gosh, when I first arrived here, I'm like, okay, if there was no Chicago,
right,
there wouldn't be Scottsdale.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody was from Chicago or
totally.
That area.
Totally.
And then later you talk more and more. Then we had a lot of Canadians come over.
Right. Yeah.
So that was good. But they were buying a lot of stuff for less.
Right.
And but then they also invested a lot into multifamily. They brought their businesses here.
Yeah.
And so now California is hot. we still get a lot of people from, the colder climates, Seattle
Right.
and Utah and, Colorado, all of those. Yeah.
So in
absolutely.
terms of the trends in terms of size and livability, do you see with an aging demographic smaller and nicer, or still the big mega 15,000 square foot houses, or what do you see in out there?
European style is very hot. Anything,
So we're noticing,
because I
like,
grew
it's-
up there, I lived there, so
Right.
everything that I used to see and cherish over there, I'm starting to see here.
Yeah.
With the clean lines.
Yeah.
And but then you have to look at, who's buying it, and we do an analysis of if these homes between 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and and then go on all the way to 8 plus,
Right.
and then 10 plus. So we look at all those sales and say, okay, where did this buyer come from, and how did they pay for it?
Right.
Was it all cash? And the answer is yes.
Huh,
So you would think, they can leverage their money and do something else with it, or no, these guys are coming in and dropping all of that money. I know when they're building a home, are they using? It may be a little different when they're building a home, because
Yeah.
maybe they want their banker just oversee the money
Right.
portion of it.
Yeah.
But in resale,
I'm seeing a lot less leverage. I mean,
Are you?
I mean, that's part of what I think is going to kind of keep at least the Phoenix market. It seemed like I remember 2006, and people just go to the bank and get a $3 million loan like it was a withdrawal from an ATM.
Well,
and
yeah.
those days are over.
Those days are over, but it's not as difficult as it was 5 years
It's
ago.
gotten
6
easier.
years, much easier.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about the Dodd-Frank Act.
Right.
Nobody talks about all of those
So
other.
that part is changing a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Putting, it was like, okay, you have to have 25, 30%. Now we're getting people in at 10%, 5%. They're REIT money. So these REITs are coming in and say, if you make us a partner on your exit,
Right.
with taking 30% of your equity, then we'll put down the down payment for you.
Interesting. So that stuff's starting to happen again.
A lot of creative money is coming in.
If you're getting
Yeah.
1.5 to 2% on a bond, you got to find other ways to make money.
Other way, yes, exactly.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
So do you see a lot of people downsizing, or not
Well,
as much?
Okay, so let's talk about who is downsizing and where are they coming from. If they're
Right.
downsizing locally,
Right.
it seems like they like to go into these, mid-rise
Condos.
opportunities, condos.
Huh.
There's so much of them. So many of them have sold and continue to sell for premium. It pencils out. So the developer's making money.
Yeah.
Everybody's making money, which is great. But, if they're coming from out of town, I think they look at everything. Then they say, okay, you know what? Why would I want to go in and pay $1,000 a foot here, where I can have a single family and pay the same,
Right.
and have all this extra, where I didn't have it. See, I think I just came from London, and everybody lives in these.
It's a matter of perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah, you come here and there's so much. If you come from London, come here.
Yeah.
Everything's so open and so big and just spacious. And
Yeah, even
beautiful.
Paradise Valley,
Yeah.
minimum 1 acre lots.
Yeah.
Up and down the McDonald corridor, you got 5 acre lots.
Right.
And those are premium blue chip dirt that people are building, and they're
So
happy.
They still want that.
Well, I see people coming in, and you see
Yeah.
all this construction that's going on.
Yeah, no, I
but
know.
but they're different now.
Right.
They're doing more transitional,
Right.
lighter,
More open.
opener, yeah,
Yeah.
indoor, outdoor, all
I mean,
of
one
those
thing
things.
we're seeing more of all of a sudden is, there was a real contemporary push for a while.
Yes,
And just like before that was a real big Tuscan push.
that's right.
And what I've seen with the contemporary is there's so many people that have done poor contemporary.
That's true.
And they're just lifeless. They're just four walls. It's a box, and they call it clean and edited. And like, it's basically a box. I mean, so I'm getting a lot of clients go, I want something contemporary, but I want it to have soul and old materials. And so what we're doing
Timeless.
is a lot of Mediterranean now.
Oh.
We'll bring them, some
Yeah.
of the old styles, but we'll bring this really modern edge to it.
Yes.
and it's beautiful.
You
know?
were always ahead of, you always watched and listened
it's
and
listening.
created. Yeah, and
It's
you're an
listening with
artist,
my
so
clients.
that's what artists do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the art in you.
Right. And
Yeah.
you like music. You can see I've got 2 pianos sitting right here.
I love it.
I love music, and I always compare, music, the notes to architecture. There are 12 notes, and look how many songs there are.
Right.
And it's just like, how do you compose the notes into your own unique song?
It's all those connections that
Totally.
creates the harmony, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, but, so we like to stay involved when clients are building. We like to talk about, hey, if they decide to sell within years, are they going to have an issue or no issue?
Right.
Because we work with buyers a lot. Sometimes, how many times have you seen, a 9 or 10,000 square feet home come in with 1 bedroom?
Right.
I mean,
It's crazy.
I just interviewed for another one, and there are other rooms,
Yeah.
but they're not connected to the house.
No, what I tell a lot of my clients is when we're in the conceptual design,
Yes.
I like to get a realtor like yourself into a couple of those meetings
Yes.
and go, hey, this is the path we're kind of going down. What do you think? I said, oh, you know what? I would make those those bathrooms en suite with those bedrooms. I'd add another garage.
Right.
Because you know what the buyers out there are looking for.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, simple things as, for example, in the bathroom, in the master bath, and you have too much glass. Now you have to figure out a way to buffer,
Right.
so you have some privacy. Why don't we just design it so that's already in place?
Right.
And people, bad design can cause you to spend a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what you do. You talk about all those things.
We try to, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's what for us, there's 2 different distinct markets. There's the remodel market and there's the new build market. And the new build, we're trying to, tap into what you see or, market trends and what's going on. Obviously, we want to address how someone wants to live, but we also want to do it smartly. And then on the remodels, I think there's still we are staying in that market. It's about 2/3 to 3/4 of our volume is remodel. And most people are totally shocked when I tell them that.
Yeah.
But it's such a huge market.
I've seen images of things that
The before and after.
things that you created yourself,
Yeah.
and then you made it even better for today's standards.
Oh, yeah. We've done some before
Those
and
are so
afters
fun.
on our own house.
I love those. Yeah, I love those.
So
Yeah.
It's something that we keep seeing, and I think there's so much brown out there, as I always
Right.
call it, the
Right.
debrowning of Phoenix.
Deep brown, right?
You
Right.
know, and
De-yellow and deep brown.
De-yellow and
Yeah, a
deep
lot of
brown.
yellow too.
Yeah, a lot
Interiors.
of ochre.
Yes,
The Tuscan wave hit pretty hard.
Exactly.
So,
but that's what they wanted back then.
Yeah.
They couldn't get
Yeah.
enough of it. I mean, I spoke to builders that would go and they're building, so they're getting ideas or importing things
Right.
to the marketplace.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's what I always love on some of those is when you get a listing and it's somebody's house and it's like, what do we do with this thing? How do we get it, ready to sell? And I know there's that show Flip or Sell or whatever it's called,
Right.
or Fix.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes we've done some preliminary concepts for you and
Yes.
your clients.
Thank you for those.
And then they come
Huge.
in and go, we're not selling this. We're going to stay here. This is awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes it doesn't help you.
We're not there to take a listing.
Right.
We're there to help them, guide them.
Oh, that's why I like
And
it about you.
and our success is based upon just that. If it's dollars and cents, it dilutes it.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me tell you this. We're going to change subject here a little
Sure.
bit while I've got you. I'm sure in the course of selling real estate, you've come across some crazy stories. I know you want to remain confidential and all this, but you've got to have something like, holy cow, I can't believe how this all shook out. And it could be something just great that happened. Or
Yeah. So I received a call, and I was outside of one of our new offices. It was being constructed, and so there's a lot of noise and construction noise behind. So I received the call, and I picked up the call, and I said, "Hello, this is Frank." And I should have said, "Hello, this is Frank Aazami with Russ Lyon Sotheby's International Realty." I didn't say it proper enough. And this gentleman said, "Oh, is this Russ Lyon? Is this Sotheby's?" I said, "Yes." And he says, "Well, why didn't you answer the phone that way?" And I apologized, and I said, I picked up my phone, and just walking into one of our offices that's under construction, just looking at stuff, apologized. And so anyway, he goes, well, I don't know if I want to talk to you. I said, well, you called me. It must be something that I can help you with. At the very least, can I just hear what you're trying to accomplish? So anyway, the conversation goes on. He gives me some information. He moved here in the 70s and bought a lot and paid, I think, $250,000 for an acre lot. And he closed on it and came outside. And his neighbor said, "You're from California, aren't you?" And he says, "Yeah, how did you know?" He goes, "Only a fool would pay $250,000 for this lot." And so this is right by Camelback Country Club.
Oh, wow.
And so he purchased another acre and a half and basically put a 20,000 square feet home on it. And it took him close to, 15 years or so to build it. And it's all steel, concrete,
wow.
all like nothing, no paint, like all the varnishes and everything was natural,
Wow.
So he calls and he says, "Hey, listen, I want to sell. We were almost finished, and I lost my wife, and my three kids are grown and gone, and what would you price this at?" And I said, "Well, how much do you have in it?" He goes, I don't know, maybe 20 million.
Oh my gosh.
And so I looked at him. I said, "It's worth after going through it, you think you went into another world."
Huh. I think I know the house you're talking about.
You know the house, yeah. So went through the house, and I said, that the issue that we have here is the market has not procured many of these over 12,
Right.
$15 million. I mean, I just sold one for 18, but,
Yep.
And we went through that conversation. Another one sold for 15, another sold for 12, and all these different transactions. I said, for us to even have bodies come through and consider it, I think we should be somewhere between 14 to $16 million, and I stayed with it and gave him all the reasons. Smart man.
Yep.
He was in manufacturing in San Francisco,
Yep.
so he knew. Make the long story short, we came on the market. He became ill, and we had to take it off the market for a while. And just in conversation with another great agent in town, they had someone from the other side of the world, just staying here for winters, just not even looking to buy a house because they owned homes. They have multiple homes everywhere.
Right.
They didn't need another home. But we invited them to come take a look at it, and when they saw the value and the quality, they had to have
They
it.
bought it.
Then they bought it, and they
Wow.
bought it within 10 days.
It's amazing.
Cash and carry. So that was a significant.
Yeah,
you asked me
that's
about
a
a
great
crazy story, and I'm sure, and I heard stories about you.
Oh my God.
People came into your properties and they fell in love with it.
Yeah.
They just wrote a check.
Yeah.
And so we know those stories. We hear about them. And kudos to you.
Well, obviously,
Yeah.
I think good design pays. I mean,
Absolutely.
if you look at, what our fee is relative to the entire cost of a project, I always tell people our fee is less than the sales tax.
Yeah.
You're going to pay more for sales tax. You're going to pay for good design. And it's like, why would you not? Because
You pay for yourself and make the money. So
Yeah.
I always question, am I an asset or an expense to this person that I'm sitting across from?
Right.
If I'm an expense, let me just end this conversation and move on.
Right.
But if I'm an asset,
And
then
gonna add value.
Add value. If I pay for myself and make them money, I'm in the right room.
Right. And what's there to think about at that
Right.
point? Just
Right.
do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
So I always tell people you're going to have to pay something for design. And to pay that incremental difference to get really good design and good service, it's worth it.
well, Mark, think about bad design. We in the down market, people buying the wrong home for the right price.
Right.
So when they bought the wrong home for the right price, and then they put the money behind it, they could have actually built the right home without going through all that hassle.
I know. I see it all the time.
You see it all the time.
You see it all the
I
time,
see it
too?
a lot more too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what inspires you, Frank? How do you stay motivated, and how do you motivate your team, and what juices you up?
Okay, people in the business, people that create this stuff. I'm part of the ARA. I'm
Yeah.
part of your group.
I love the fact you support our group.
I support your group. I've been in the commissioner's ear for years. And every time I run into her, I say, you have to make it mandatory for the salespeople to understand what it takes to put up a home.
Right.
What it takes to put the road, what it takes to bring all the utilities there. If they are not educated and they don't know the difference between this door and this kitchen and that kitchen and the flooring, if they don't know the difference between workmanship and design and all of that, in other words, have them learn what goes behind the assembly line before you put them in the showroom to value it and sell it.
Yeah.
They cannot build value if they don't know.
I think ARA's been doing a great job with the appraiser group, the appraisers.
So we're actually taking that program.
Yep.
And I've spoken to the owners of our company, and I said, how wonderful would it be that you can say every single agent is a certified, and you can tag it whatever it is, architecturally knowledge. They know something about, maybe they can understand a blueprint, how to read a blueprint a little bit better.
Right.
Maybe topography, maybe, all of that, I think, just looking at it and what can you do with the washes? What can you do with the washes?
Where are the opportunities?
It brings value to, people, they may guide somebody to buy the wrong lot.
Right.
And the lot is like worthless.
Right.
They come to you after the fact.
Right. It's come up with something creative.
And now how do you fix it?
Right.
Yeah,
it's tough sometimes.
Right. So, buying the right home at the wrong front, all of that, yeah.
Now, real estate is very fascinating, and like I said, I know a lot of realtors, but you are one of the hardest working realtors I know.
Thank you.
There's a handful of you.
Well, all of us that work very hard, we're all in the same circle. My father used to say, your friends are who you are, so you are who your friends are.
Yep.
That, it's
so
an old
true.
saying, so.
No, it's the same with the architects.
Yeah.
People are amazed that we're all good friends and we all hang out to each
Oh,
other.
yeah.
We all admire each other.
Absolutely.
We have nothing.
That's where you're going to collaborate and learn from one another. They're going to learn a lot from you. You've been in the business for so long.
Yeah.
How long has it been? 30?
Well, we just celebrated our 20th year of Candelaria design.
That's right.
But I'm going to be celebrating almost my 40th year here in a couple of years. So 40 years. 18 years with George Christensen and 20 years on my own. So.
What a legacy name that was, yeah.
About George?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And there's some stories.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, lots of good stories with George. So, in terms of...
and those stories are going to be told on your podcast?
Well, we'll have to get some
soon.
George people. I'll have to get a few George people in on these podcasts.
Because I know your audience.
There's some good stories.
They want to hear it.
Oh
they want to hear it.
It's crazy. So, in terms of... I know how hard you work, but I know you've got to do some things to relax. And what do you do to de-stress?
Music.
You like music?
Music,
Now, do you listen,
hiking.
Do you play? What?
No, I listen. I just like all sorts of different music.
Yeah.
I never thought I would like country, but I love country music too.
That's how I was. I used to hate it when I was a kid.
I didn't think I would.
But I love it now.
Because it wasn't around me when I was growing up.
Yeah, me either.
But now I'm in it.
You're in Arizona.
Yeah, and I can't get enough of it. So it's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what are some of your biggest challenges right now facing you?
Biggest challenges, it's always communication sometimes, because it's such a fast-paced world. I think we need to slow down and listen. We need to slow down and hear both sides.
Right.
And I think you can be a better judge. You can be a better person if you hear all sides and then make a decision, not just assume.
Quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned, that's one thing I've learned, and I still need to get better at it, but just take all the information and allow yourself some time to process it and kind of play out all the different scenarios of what can happen with that information versus just, off the cuff, boom, and you go, oh God, why did I do that?
And asking questions like, if you had a magic wand,
right?
Like, if you had that power, what would it look like? What would it be?
Exactly.
And that's when you get the real truth out of people.
Yep.
And so, and then you can help them better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, listening is a very important skill. And I think more people need to work on that, including myself. And I try all the time just
I
to
try
to
all.
listen.
So much information is coming towards us.
Right.
You can't take it
From
all.
so many different
So much.
angles.
It's like text and emails and just
You
all
can
of it.
hear my
Yeah.
emails coming in.
Right,
on my
right.
computer here. So let me see. You're getting older. We're all getting a little older.
Yes.
What's your plans for the years ahead?
There's a thing called coloning. So if we can cologne ourselves, you know,
Have 3 Franks running around?
no, I mean, just make sure that everyone that you help
Yeah.
are genuine,
Right.
and they care, and they help, and they listen. Our biggest gift to society, especially if you're a parent, is a good child that can bring value to the society.
Right.
And I think that is what I contribute to.
Yeah. So
you know.
I talk about that a lot with my people. I just mentioned George Christensen, who was such a great mentor for me.
Exactly.
And so I think you get to that age where it's your turn to be the mentor,
Right.
And teach other people and teach other architects. And I had just a young builder come in the other day that saw our work on social media, and they were over in the West Valley down in Buckeye doing fix and flips. And but this kid came in, and I was so impressed with him, and I just told him, look, I want to help you. I want to help you learn.
You saw it in him.
Could totally
Totally
see it.
get- yeah.
I mean, he said
Isn't
all
it?
the right thing, and I could tell he wasn't just coming up with some lines.
No.
It was from his heart.
Right.
And I could see that hunger. I could see the guy who was opening the restaurants when he was 19 years old.
Right.
It's like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
So
It's courage, and the commitment. One thing that I think is frustrating in the business is when someone does it all. They're the architect, they're the builder, they're the realtor, they're the every. I can't even keep up with what I'm doing. You can't even keep up with what you're doing. That's why you have staff,
Right.
the best staff that I've came across.
Thank you.
They all care. They feel like it's there.
Right.
And I'm sure you
Yeah. No. I mean, what I've told people is there's certain characteristics and values in a person that you can't teach.
Right.
You either have it or you don't.
Exactly.
You can teach them how to draw. You can teach
Right.
them how to, run copies. You can teach them whatever.
Yeah.
But if they don't have that core value of what matters to us and our company, you're not going to teach that to them.
Exactly.
And
it's sometimes upbringing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that.
Yeah.
How are they? And so we ask. How are you brought up?
Right.
Where?
Oh, that's important.
What's important? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the ones I've heard lately is pretty interesting. Is tell me the 5 last books you've read. And when they look at you like a book, what's a book?
What's a book?
Or even podcasts.
And I'm looking at all your books here behind
we
me.
love books.
Yeah.
And we love podcasts too. We become podcast junkies, Isabel and I.
Good.
And we trade them back for you. Got to listen to this one.
Well, can I tell you? People ask me why were you in radio? I said because I didn't have the face for TV. So when you said come over, I came over. But we have libraried. So we tell stories of our homes and our lots through video. And we started that like 5 years ago. I probably have over 500-600 videos of homes and properties that we. So who do we interview? We interview the creators,
right.
the owners, someone who has some connection with the property, right? And we sell the benefits and everything else. So
people want the story.
So here's the catch. People say, why aren't you in any of those videos? Well, because I didn't have the face for it.
Well, see, I'm going to disagree with you because I've seen you in Scottsdale Modern Luxury, the Modern Man issue. That's a pretty damn good photo.
I don't know. Well, so you asked me what else is important to me.
Yeah.
How do I, restart?
Yep.
I have to work out more.
Yeah.
And my wife keeps telling me, take a few more hours and just.
No, it's important. I'm trying to do the same thing because
Well, you live right next to a workout facility.
Well, yeah,
That's
but
amazing.
Also Churchill Cigars is right next door too.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, okay, which way do I
Which
go
way do we
here?
go?
But it's so true. I mean, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't do all the things that are out there to be done.
That's true.
If you fall apart, and we learned this with Isabel, not that she wasn't taking care of herself, but you learn that you've got to value yourself.
Right.
You're a
what
machine.
a strong person she is.
Oh yeah, she's amazing.
To fight
But I
cancer,
bet you
right?
take your car in to get checked
Yeah.
every 3 months.
Yes, but not myself.
Yeah, but not yourself,
It's
right?
been 10 plus years.
See, and that's something you need to change.
Yeah.
That's one thing I have learned through what she went through is, go see a doctor every 3 months. Not
Right.
because you're sick, but if they can catch something early
Early
with the
on.
technology that is going on now,
Yeah.
it's amazing what they can do.
No doubt about it.
So especially women with breast cancer and that sort of thing, just go do it. It's an hour out
Yeah.
of
My mother went through it, and well, it was different back then.
Yeah.
Now today it's so much quicker.
it's amazing what they can do.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, take care of yourself. You got to get to the gym.
okay.
So so do I.
So next
maybe
time
we need to go to the gym together.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. We can be gym buddies.
Okay.
As I know we love to go out and eat.
I hear about all of your eating events, and I try to avoid those for that same reason.
I am actually cooking dinner for a client tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, at their house. We just finished in Arcadia. I'm making dinner for 14 people this evening. So I'm making short ribs with hatch green chili, sweet mashed potatoes. Does that sound
See,
good?
isn't that something? Like, who else does that? Who else does that?
It's faster than building a house. That's why I like doing it.
But you do it with love.
Do it with love.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great client, it's a great
Yeah.
house, and it's what you talked about at the very beginning. It's maintaining that connection.
Exactly.
Well,
they become part of your family. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
yeah, that's the best part.
Neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing for you. I know it's not a job. You love what you do,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
I never even think about how much I make.
You don't
It's
think
never,
about, oh my
never.
God, I got to go to work.
How much I spend on marketing? Gosh, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I
How
think.
important is marketing?
Can I tell you the best marketing?
Yep.
Nose, toes. Get in front of them. Get in
what we
front.
said.
That's the best marketing.
Yep.
I mean,
Get out there.
get out there, and like you said it right from the beginning of this podcast, and you can do all the marketing you want.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Doesn't mean anything. Now, that's why we do the videos.
Right.
That's a little bit better.
Right.
But again, our print drives them to those videos, to those libraries,
Right.
to those opportunities.
No, and I see you out in the community. I see you at events and
All the time.
You're always working it, and
We both are.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
got to. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I love it. I get energy from it.
Before knowing you,
Uh-huh.
I thought, I can't get near this guy. He's untouchable. And then
I'm the most down to earth person.
you said it not once but 100 times. If you need anything, if you want me to do a sketch for you, if you want me to
Yeah.
meet somebody on the lot with you, just call me. I'll be there.
Yep.
Who does that?
I love doing that. So we definitely have to have some more fun.
Yes.
So I've got to get you on my Italy trip or Spain trip one of these days.
Okay.
So I leave next week.
Oh, that
And,
quick.
Well, I know how fast you got married in a
Right. No, I proposed in
Yeah,
a week.
in a
She goes,
week. So
what?
I figure I can invite you to Italy, and you'll probably just come.
Oh, absolutely. I love those.
We got to do some cooking. We got to. What else do we have to do together? What else should we do?
Well, I like to. I have never had the experience watching you sketch,
Oh,
and you do those sketch
videos.
and you have a whole program called Sketch.
Yeah.
Well, I need to learn that so I can tell everybody about it
Oh, that's cool.
firsthand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and I get so much good feedback when I do those little sketch videos. People say, I love watching you draw the roof tiles, and I just sit there and it mesmerizes you, and so.
And then they tell me that you draw upside down.
Yeah, for clients, a lot of times I'll draw to them because I already.
I mean,
what
I
it looks
watch
like.
you do a few, not a whole session, but you just did a quick something because you're
Yep.
explaining it. But I think that's such a
Well,
talent.
I learned that from George. George is the one who did that.
No kidding.
Yep. And you just learn how to kind of put yourself, like you said, in their chair.
Yes.
And when I'm drawing, I'm just pretend like I'm sitting there, and I just draw it as if I'm in that spot.
No kidding.
And it's the more you do, it's like anything else.
It's imagining. So that's
it's
one.
imagining.
That's something that you're very good at.
Yeah.
Because if
I
you
see
can't
things
imagine it,
three-dimensionally.
you can't create it.
Right.
And you're good at that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun, and it's fun to work with people. I like I've had clients say, I know what it is, but no one can show it to me. I said, well, start talking.
Yeah.
And they'll start talking, and I'll just kind of start drawing what they're saying, and they'll go, That's it. That is what I've been trying to show. So how did you do that so fast? I said, well, you just had to describe
You know,
it to
like
me.
they have those missing people, or like they're talking, describing, they're actually drawing
face.
it. Yeah, drawing the face.
It's similar,
That's a
I
talent.
guess.
I guess it is.
Yeah.
In a way,
Yeah.
but better.
So it's fun when I can collaborate with someone like you,
Yeah.
you know, and you have a customer that says, you know, we want to do this, we want to add that. Should we buy this That's where I do it a lot.
Right.
Is you have someone that says, we're considering buying this property.
Right.
But, you know, we want to add this and this to it. How would we do
Is
that?
it possible?
Is
I
it
mean,
even
people.
possible?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. We'll do a couple sketches, do some research with the town, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, so here's a quick composition. And what I love is doing that quick, because I know when you've got a prospective buyer and you can keep them on the hook,
Yeah.
and they're excited, that's it.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
If they have to wait 2 months to get a drawing,
the thrill's gone.
The thrill's gone.
Yeah.
You want to get them right then.
So we say it all the time, and I tell people that work with me, all sales are based on momentum. Keep the momentum high and going.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, access, for example, you know, sell my home, but you know what? Qualify them, do this, do that. The thrill's going to be gone by the time I get. You know, I need to. Once you decide you want to move forward,
Right.
you move an asset.
Yep.
You have to make it
Happen.
look good and available and be open-minded.
Totally.
Conversation.
Totally.
You don't have to do any of it, but listen.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
then respond.
Yep.
And we'll fine-tune
And
it.
stay in touch.
Stay in touch. Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have done great. I think we're just about out of time here. You've done a fantastic job. I knew this was going to be, this is way more interesting than I knew it was going to be interesting,
You're too kind.
but this whole story of the restaurant thing and how you got out here was very, very fascinating. And
Right.
I can see where the roots of who you are, where it all came from.
So can I thank you for that?
Yep.
Now, you're too kind. You've always been just that way all the time. But what makes my restaurant story very unique is because it's this. I was selling 2 items.
Yep.
2 items. Who has 2 items on their menu? I had, when people didn't even know what chicken wings were,
Yep.
I had a wing store, okay?
Yep.
French fries, Coca-Cola, and Diet Coke. That was it.
Yeah, basic.
And I had to pay the rent,
Right.
the staff,
Right.
all of what it takes, the utilities,
From chicken wings.
just
and
selling.
French
And
fries
imagine how much of that you have to sell
to cover that.
to cover all that and make money.
And you could do it.
And I did it.
Yeah.
So that was tough, because you go to restaurants and they give you a menu of choice.
Oh,
As a matter
yeah.
of fact, if you feel different, just tell us and we'll make it for you.
Right.
I had nothing else in the fridge.
Yeah.
That was it.
But you did the best.
But if we
with
can
that.
do it with just that,
Yeah.
with the limited menu, and pay and make money,
Yeah.
you pass the test.
Yeah. There you go.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I love it. I mean, I always tell people the story. What's the most famous, most successful restaurant ever in the world? McDonald's. Is their food the best? No.
No.
But is their service and their system the best?
Consistency. Across
the board.
everywhere, right?
Yeah. So
Amazing.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a good product to go along with it, all the better. I mean,
So if you give me a choice now and say, let's open up a restaurant
Yep.
or that same concept, or would you rather go to jail?
right?
I would probably go to jail. I said it jokingly. I do not want to be in a restaurant business
It's
ever
tough,
again.
isn't it?
It was tough.
It's really tough.
But one other thing about the
Yep.
restaurant business, over the years, my insurance carrier used to say, "How come you don't have a turnover?" And I said, "Why? Do people have a lot of turnovers?" He goes, "Yeah."
Restaurant business?
I mean, people are here with you like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. What's going on? What do you do? I said, treat them. I treat them like
Family.
I want it to be treated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I see that they're not having a good day,
Right.
I tell them to play the owner's role or manager's role.
Exactly.
Just take a break.
Yeah.
Take a day off.
Yeah.
You're still going to get paid for it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Like, seriously?
Yeah.
You're not. I can time out 5 hours later and still have a day off. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Well, your people are really in any business is probably your most valuable asset.
Absolutely.
And if you can keep them and not have that turnover, it makes a huge difference.
Human kindness.
Yeah, absolutely. So how
Goes
do
a long
people
way.
get in touch with you, Frank?
Oh, well, they have to get to you to get to me.
I like it.
Mark has my contact
I love
information. But yeah, we're actually in the same building.
Yeah,
We're 6900
Yep.
East Camelback Road.
Great spot.
Great spot right next to Neiman's, so you
Yep.
can go shopping while after you
That's what I
meet with
tell
us.
people. Park in the garage, come
Yeah.
up through the ladies' handbag department, right up to our floor. I said my fee will be nothing compared to your Neiman Marcus bill.
Exactly. I tell them go to the ladies shoe department.
Yeah,
Then they
exactly.
come.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I am, and my cell number is 480-266-0240. 480-266-0240.
Awesome, my friend. Thank
you
you
so much
much
for having me.
Great job.
Thanks to you.
Great job, Frank Aazami. That was fantastic. I tell you what, his positive energy and his can-do attitude makes all the difference. That's what it's all about, guys. Get out there and just start doing it. Don't be waiting. Don't make excuses. Go for it. Okay, so next week I've got another great guy, Brad Levitt of A Finer Touch Construction. He is going to talk to us about the building industry, all the things that are going on there, and his approach on social media, which I think you will find very, very interesting. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed our podcast. We encourage you to write a review, screenshot it, and share it with your friends. Please instant message it to me and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We thank you for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights to inspiring living next week.